Up in Brooklyn, New York. And he's got the shorts he used to wear when he first started. Said Mike lost over 100 pounds to get ready in the past several months to get ready for this fight. And why did he do it? Because he wanted to do it. He wanted to get himself in shape to fight. And while you'll see he's not in the peak shape we used to see with that cut body, the last thing to go for a heavyweight is his punch. Whether he throws it with malice of forethought against Roy Jones Jr., we'll find out real early in the going. So we're just about set to go. Third man in the ring, Ray Corona. Here's Michael.
Ladies and gentlemen, the national anthem will be performed by our special guest, the Grammy Award-winning international recording superstar, singer, actor, producer, Neo.
Roy Jones Jr. looks exactly the same, and here we go. Two legends. Let's see if Mike will throw hard, and then we get an idea. He's jabbing, same peekaboo style, throwing that jab a little bit high on the head of Roy. Roy will feint. He'll throw sneaky punches. Right hand leads. He's a master boxer, and he can still do that. Now you have to question how much these guys spoke to each other and how hard they were going to fight. But that right hand, which was a little bit on the low side, looked pretty heavy for me for Mike Tyson. And already I can tell you that Mike Tyson is more energized for this fight than he was when he fought a lackluster fight against Corey Sanders years ago in Youngstown, Ohio. And that was an exhibition fight. Roy hasn't landed much of anything yet. Tyson with that style of his, blasts to the body, but he's not really sitting down on those blasts to the body. When he was the menacing Iron Mike Tyson, body shots like that would have been really digging into the body and digging hard. Those are a little on the low side, but Mike is cute on the far side of Ray Corona. So Ray really couldn't see him, although he said, keep your punches up. Mike stands squared. Now he's set to go again, doesn't get off first. Roy will try to pick his shots to get his jab through there, touch him on the chest and keep Mike off him so Mike can't land big shots. And then Roy hangs on to him, walks him away. So far in this 2-minute round, it seems to go fast, and it does because it is 2 minutes. And Mike has had a slight advantage, I think, over Roy Jones Jr. Roy misses the jab. Mike got away from moving his head back and forth like that, but that's how he used to do it when he was really in his prime. Haven't seen any splashes of the great Roy Jones yet, as round one is in the book. And we'll see how it goes here now in round number 2. Mike Tyson, of course, in his old short black trunks. He comes after him with the hooks. Still bangs upstairs to the head. Roy trying to tie him up on the inside. Mike keeps throwing punches. Well, this is a little bit more than a sparring session we got going here right now. Roy hasn't been able to box Mike too much, but he wants to be real sure that he doesn't get into a situation where Mike can land something really heavy to his chin. Again, the 2-minute round slipped by really fast, and again, Roy not really sticking with that jab, and he's got a great jab, bouncing left and right, and then he pot shots Mike Tyson. Mike won't like that. Mike feints a lot and then throws. Remember, Mike Tyson is a real student of the game of boxing, and you can be sure he studied Roy Jones Jr. films. But this isn't the Roy Jones Jr. Roy really hasn't got off yet. He's a little bit slower. That right hand cracked Roy Jones Jr. Roy hangs on now for dear life on the inside, feeling the power of Mike Tyson. This is a fight Roy wanted a long time ago. After he beat Johnny Ruiz, he wanted to fight Mike Tyson right there and then. He got a few offers from Lennox Lewis and a few other people, but Roy's legs don't look really strong right now to me, and this is only the second round. And the way he was huffing and puffing in between rounds, you know, it's not whether he's in shape, it's just how good a shape can a 54-year-old in the case of Tyson and a 51-year-old guy and Roy Jones really get with the cardio going. Mike is kind of dominating with his strength. Closing seconds now. This is the second round. Nothing too exciting so far, but I think Mike Tyson is dominating the shots. He's been upstairs one time again, and the bell ends that one. And I think I'd give that round to Tyson as well. Nothing, but no power behind that whatsoever. But in the amount of punches that he used to throw, Roy could land as many as 5. I've seen him land 5 hooks. Mike Tyson seems to be, really, moving the head around like he wants to go after Roy Jones in this fight. He's picking up the pace a little bit in this the third round. As Roy letting him know that he's right there. A lot of tying up, and there was a lot of that tying up in the first fight that I saw Mike in an exhibition against Corey Sanders in the fight several years ago up in Ohio, Youngstown. This takes up a lot of time when they hang on like this, and that is what these fighters are trying to do, is chew up as much time as they can so that they can have an explosion. That was a good, solid, it was taken right on the belt by Roy Jones, and their heads have come together a couple of times. And Roy says he's okay, and Ray says, I'm talking about Ray Corona, the referee now, is saying, watch those heads. Mike comes in, and because of the difference in height, Mike can catch a guy. Now this is where he wants to be, on that side, and then throw a blast with his right hand. He threw it, caught Roy underneath the elbow, but Mike likes to fight with his head to the right side of his opponent and then come back with a hook when it's to this side, and when his head is to the other side, he'll come back with a right hand to the body, try to catch him in the heart, or a little bit lower underneath the elbow. But again, a lot of tying up, and the reason for that is these guys are smart enough to know if they want to chew up time, they can chew up probably 20 or 30 seconds in a 2-minute round by hanging on and waltzing around like this. The infighting is tough. I think that Mike is getting the advantage on the inside. And Roy to me looks like he's really gassed. There he is, southpaw now, and that's the end of the round. Mike Tyson has William White and Rodolfo Cordero working with him. So Mike jabbing again, trying to work his way in there. And they are tying themselves up again. This again chews up time. Roy really looks like he's much more gassed than is Mike Tyson. You heard what they want him to do. He wants to get that jab going, go with right hand leads. Now Roy's up on his toes, moving around. He could do this for 3-minute rounds, for 12 rounds when he was in his prime. But these guys at 54 and 51 respectively are putting on a decent show. It's nothing like when they're in their primes, and that's what we all want to see, but you can't expect it.
Let's go, work, gentlemen. That's short two, it's right there. Let's go. You guys are legends, make it look good.
See the amount of holding that they do. Roy knows exactly what he's doing. Trying to chew up time. They're already inside a minute to go in this round. Mike hasn't really unleashed, except for a couple of times, what I would consider the old Mike Tyson power shots.
Take a step back. Both
Roy's idea is to try to wear Mike down, but a guy that's lost 100 pounds has done an awful lot of work to do that. Caught him in the body again. Roy was caught again 2 times there. Roy just not landing much at all. A guy that, had super hand speed, super accurate punches. Mike is hanging right in there. And even, side of the old killer, as he comes back out, he still throws the uppercut, still pounds the body. Mike doesn't waste much motion as we're inside of 10 seconds to go, and this is the 4th round. So again, better than a sparring session, and I'm giving Mike Tyson this the 4th round as well as the bell ends it. Man in the corner to give him confidence The reality is that Roy Jones isn't landing much at all. Mike Tyson is, but not that big, heavy shot. And again, with a heavyweight like Mike Tyson was and as vicious as he was, loading up those big power punches is what he lived on in the first part of his career. Roy just doesn't seem to have the timing at all with this guy. I know a lot of it's caution, and you hear what his corner says, pot shot him, and then grab. In the meantime, don't get clipped by one of the heavy punches by Mike. You know, all of this stuff down here, they've done a lot of work in the gym and done a lot of sit-ups, so they're really not going to get hurt too much like that unless they really sit down on a punch to the body. Roy got hit on the hip that time, and that can take a sting when you get hit on that sciatic nerve going down there. Larry Holmes was great at that, pulling a guy's elbow forward and blasting him down there. Mike Tyson knows exactly what he's doing. He's landing a lot more shots than his Roy Jones. Roy ties up. Mike continues to throw. Roy's throwing his punches, with his hands outside the shoulders of Mike. And Mike is landing shots on the inside. Mike, nothing anywhere near as explosive as he once was. But Roy not as quick as he once was either. But I'll tell you this, they're working for you. Roy wanted to try to go southpaw's second there for just a second to kind of pot shot Mike. It worked a couple of times in the fight, but nothing significant because there's no significant power to hurt Mike.
Stop! Take a step back. You're gonna stop at the bell.
Now we're inside of 10 seconds remaining in the 5th round of this fight. Here we go. And here we go. Little flashes of the old days as Mike clips Jones right at the end of the 5th round. Another round for Mike Tyson. 2 rounds to go. And again, I don't know what any of you expected. We certainly couldn't expect to see what we vision when we see these two fighters, but it's entertaining. It's entertaining in that Roy can't seem to do much with Mike. Roy, tries to tie him up and tries to pot shot him, but he hasn't been real successful at it. When Mike starts moving like this, you know that he means business. There's a hard, low blow by Mike Tyson, and the ref, Ray Corona, says, "Keep it up, Mike, keep it up." So, Mike, one thing we haven't seen is, remember when he used to bend at the knees and come up with a big uppercut? We haven't seen that tonight. Roy comes in, and immediately they tie each other up again. And remember, that's by design. That's how you chew up seconds. There's a jab by Roy, but very little effectiveness to that because it doesn't keep Mike Tyson off him. Mike seems satisfied to be on the inside and just pound away at the body of Roy Jones. And Roy has been sucking wind since the opening bell, and Mike really started breathing heavy after the last round. I don't know what that's indicative of, but both guys are working as hard as they can at their respective ages right now. Two legends, two Hall of Famers, and we get one last look at them. Mike Tyson, 20 years ago, was an absolute terror. It was exciting every fight that I called, and I called almost all of his fights and most of Roy Jones's fights as well. And I was thrilled. Got goosebumps every time they stepped into the ring. And with this fight, with the anticipation leading up to this fight, I was getting excited again just to be here and be involved with this. Coming up to the bell to end round number 6. And the least action of the fight so far, but these guys are getting fatigued now. I still give that to Mike because Roy's just unable to do much of anything. Turn around southpaw. This is not going to affect Mike whatsoever, but his corner thinks it will. Let's see if Roy does it. Here we go. This is round number 7 of 8. They're truly legends, but they're shadows of their former selves, to be honest.
There you go.
Nonetheless, entertaining, and if I wasn't calling the fight, I certainly would have bought it on pay-per-view because you want to see him. Here's Roy picking it up, and then Mike blasts him to the belly again. Mike hangs on. This is exactly where Mike wants him now. He'll spin and he used to spin guys down the canvas when he's had his head on that side, and then blast with his right hand. Mike caught him with a shot there. These guys are going to fight these last minute of this round and the last 2 minutes of the fight. They're both glad that there's only one round to go after this one. And although they balked and wanted to fight 3-minute rounds, the idea of fighting 2-minute rounds was plenty for these aging warriors. Two great fighters in their individual primes. Two great champions. Two Hall of Famers. And I, for one, am glad I get to see Mike Tyson one more time, if it was only for the anticipation. That's why we buy lottery tickets. The anticipation. And that one is like getting a pay-per-view for this fight. We wanted to see both of these guys of 20 years ago. And at 50 years of age, in comparison, I call the fight between Roberto Duran and the Hall of Famer from Puerto Rico. I'll tell you, it was not as good a fight as this. Hector Camacho was certainly a very colorful guy, but it wasn't as good as this. This has been pretty good this far in the fight. Mike has kept pressure on Roy most of the fight when they haven't been hanging on to each other. But that's what you expect. So it is entertaining, and that's what we paid for. That's what we wanted to see. The bell ends the 7th round. Now, I expect both guys will come out smoking for the 8th.
Let's go, man. You guys are legends, bro.
If Roy wins the round, it'll be the first round he's won in the fight according to my score sheet. So here we go, the 8th round, and I expect they will pick it up a little bit here. I can see Mike Tyson with the adrenaline going.
Come on,
the head bouncing back and forth. Roy again ties him up, walks him back, tries to chew up time. Hasn't been able to land his jab. He hasn't landed any of those left hooks that he was famous for in his prime, because his timing isn't there. Now he goes southpaw and tries to shoe shine Mike Tyson. Mike's not buying it at all. He grabs him this time. Roy positions his head. And this Tyson, both of these guys have great determination. This is tough at over 50 years of age. You know, it's not just getting yourself in shape, but getting yourself in boxing shape. Roy tries the pot shot again. Mike doesn't like that sort of stuff, so he feints. Okay. Roy trying to win this final round. There's only a little over a minute to go in this fight. And if only the anticipation of what we expected to see in this fight, it's been exciting to that point anyway. Roy misses his shot. Mike comes in. Roy ties him up again, grinding up the seconds in this fight. For Roy to just survive the 8 rounds with Mike Tyson, I suppose, is a victory in its own self at this stage, being that he's a little bit younger. But Roy not doing much to win this round either. Mike hasn't landed too much, but they both have the determination. 20 seconds to go in the fight, and I expect that corners are telling him that now. This thing's almost over. And I'll say one thing for them. They did work hard. They're both really exhausted in this fight. And this is just about it. There'll be one last exchange. Roy's able to block that right hand again by Mike. Mike tries to drill him again. The bell ends, and it's all over. Now the millions of dollars going in besides the fights and besides the anticipation of this one, there's been a lot of good entertainment tonight. Mike Tyson showing a different side of Mike Tyson. He's not the fierce, ferocious, mean guy he was when he was in his prime, but it's a nicer